Good evening, Internet. It's been a cloudy week. Rain off and on. Guess it rained pretty good last night, which is good. We need it because we're still a little in a drought. When the aquifer is not happy with the lack of rain. Sometimes our well is. It's not like the new people though. All the new houses around here, if they have a well, they're only going down to the Paluxy and not the Trinity. So they're only going down like 150 feet, and that's gonna run dry first. So, in fact, the neighbor across the street, they at one point, that house, whoever owned it at the time, because I don't know when it was, 10 years ago maybe, I don't know. They had a really bad drought around here, and the Paluxy didn't have much at all. And so they went with Walnut Creek water. And still, their outside faucets around the yard are still for the well, but they only last about an hour. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it has to do with the pressure tank. I don't know. Not my place. But I thought it was interesting. It's our well. We haven't had any trouble, but we can tell when it's been really dry. We're down in the Trinity, about 400 feet probably. And it's huge. It runs from the Red River up at the Texas-Oklahoma border all the way down, it's like Granbury or something, or somewhere around there, I think. Yeah, so it's a big one, but I think it's like 100 miles wide, but yeah, several hundred miles, or a couple hundred miles long. So yeah, Texas is interesting for sure. There's only one lake in Texas that it is not man-made, and some people argue that. I think Cato Lake over on the Louisiana border. So I don't know, haven't been there yet, but yeah, I was going to record last night, and then my granddaughter was in a musical, and Moana Jr. She played the grandma. Gosh, the kids did a great job. They did a great job. I miss the days of the theaters where it was acoustical and they didn't need the microphones because the kids kept cutting in and out. I don't know if they did that if it happened the first night, and maybe batteries or something, I don't know, but they didn't check it very well for last night. That took away from it, but yeah, all credits to the kids. They had a good time, and Crystal's a little sad because this is their last year together. They're moving on to middle school. Things are weird here in Texas. They have elementary school, and then intermediate, and then middle, and then high school. And I've seen a building in Weatherford that says 9th grade school. So, dude, I don't know. I'm not going to look it up because I don't really care. All my kids are grown with kids of their own. So I even have great grandkids. So, whatever. it is what it is. But yeah, it was fun to watch. And right at the end, my allergies kicked in, and I got some moisture running out of my eyes for some reason. I'm stupid. Yeah, they did good. And then we went to IHOP afterwards. Me, Fawn, and Aubrey, and Crystal, and got to visit for a while. So that was nice. It's ever since Fawn moved out of our house and moved in with Aubrey, her half sister, kind of missed them, but they're doing good. So we were able to help her get back on her feet and get her life going again, and that's always a good thing. We love helping people. Lots of opportunities for that, but everybody has their own niche on how they help people, don't we? So anyway, I'm babbling a little bit because there's only 3 chapters left, and I'm thinking that I should do this next chapter, 26, and then leave the last 2 for the last video. 323 to yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do, because that way we don't leave you guys hanging too much. Just after this video, you'll be hanging for a couple days. So, but it'll all work out, right? We'll get to the end of the book and celebrate and go on to the next book, because that's what we do. Keep moving along. If you're not moving forward, you're probably moving backwards, because everybody else or everything else is moving forward. So if you just stay where you are, you're actually getting left behind. So you're kind of moving backward. There's your philosophical stuff for today. There you go. Alrighty, we got the fan on. We've been babbling in the camera for 8 minutes. Oh no. Alright, let's get this one chapter, and then next one we'll do the last 2, and we'll know how everything turned out. Yay! Oh, now they're at the river, the Trick River. Next morning, they pushed the raft into the water and all got aboard. The Quadling man had to hold the log craft fast while they took their places, and the flow of the river was so powerful that it nearly tore the raft from his hands. As soon as they were all seated upon the logs, he let go, and away it floated, and the adventurers had begun their voyage toward the Winkie Country. The little house of the Quadlings was out of sight almost before they had cried their goodbyes, and the Scarecrow said in a pleased voice, "It won't take us long to get to the Winkie Country at this rate." And see the picture. They had floated several miles down the stream and were enjoying the ride when suddenly the raft slowed up, stopped short, and then began to float back the way it had come. "Why, what's wrong?" asked Dorothy in astonishment. But they were all just as bewildered as she was, and at first no one could answer the question. Soon, however, they realized the truth, that the current of the river had reversed, and the water was now flowing in the opposite direction, toward the mountains. They began to recognize the scenes they had passed, and by they came in sight of the little house of the Quadlings again. the man standing on the riverbank, and he called to them, "How do you do? Glad to see you again. I forgot to tell you that the river changes its direction every little while. Sometimes it flows one way, and sometimes the other." They had no time to answer him, for the raft was swept past the house and a long distance on the other side of it. "We're going just the way we don't want to go," said Dorothy, "and I guess the best thing we can do is to get to land before we're carried any farther." But they could not get to land. They had no oars, nor even a pole to guide the raft with. The logs which bore them floated in the middle of the stream and were held fast in that position by the strong current. So they sat still and waited, and even while they were wondering what could be done, the raft slowed down, stopped, and began drifting the other way, in the direction it had first followed. After a time they repassed the Quadling house, and the man still standing on the bank, he cried out to them, "Good day! Glad to see you again. I expect I shall see you a good many times as you go by, unless you happen to swim ashore." By that time they had left him behind and were headed once more straight toward the Winkie Country. "This is pretty hard luck," said Ojo in a discouraged voice. "The Trick River keeps changing, it seems, and here we must float back and forth forever, unless we manage in some way to get ashore." "Can you swim?" asked Dorothy. "No, I'm Ojo the Unlucky. Neither can I." "Toto, can you swim a little? But that won't help us to get ashore." "I don't know whether I could swim or not," remarked Scraps, "but if I tried it, I'd surely ruin my lovely patches." "My straw would get soggy in the water, and I would sink," said the Scarecrow. So there seemed no way out of their dilemma, and being helpless, they simply sat still. Ojo, who was in the front of the raft, looked over into the water and thought he saw some large fishes swimming about. "Hi, Strider. Hello, buddy. Hi. Oh, the pretty boy. The goodest boy, huh? The good boy. Yes, hi, buddy. The baby boy." He's such a love. So there seemed no way out of their dilemma, and being helpless, they simply sat still. Ojo, who was in the front of the raft, looked over into the water and thought he saw some large fishes swimming about. He found a loose end of the clothesline which fastened the logs together, and taking a gold nail from his pocket, he bent it nearly double to form a hook, and tied it to the end of the line. Having baited the hook with some bread which he broke from his loaf, he dropped the line into the water, and almost instantly it was seized by a great fish. They knew it was a great fish because it pulled so hard on the line that it dragged the raft forward even faster than the current of the river had carried it. The fish was frightened, and it was a strong swimmer. As the other end of the clothesline was bound around the logs, he could not get it away, and as he had greedily swallowed the whole gold hook at the first bite, he could not get rid of that either. When they reached the place where the current had before changed, the fish was still swimming ahead in its wild attempt to escape. The raft slowed down, but it did not stop because the fish would not let it. He continued to move in the same direction it had been going. As the current reversed and rushed backward on its course, it failed to drag the raft with it. Slowly, inch by inch, they floated on, and the fish tugged and kept them going. "I hope he won't give up," said Ojo anxiously. "If the fish can hold out until the current changes again, we'll be all right." See, there's the fishy pulling the rafty with the peoply. The fish did not give up. but held the raft bravely on its course, till at last the water in the river shifted again and floated them the way they wanted to go. But now the captive fish found its strength failing. Seeking a refuge, it began to drag the raft toward the shore. As they did not wish to land in this place, the boy cut the rope with his pocket knife and set the fish free, just in time to prevent the raft from grounding. The next time the river backed up, the Scarecrow managed to seize the branch of a tree that overhung the water, and they all assisted him to hold fast and prevent the raft from being carried backward. While they waited here, Ojo spied a long broken branch lying upon the bank, so he leaped ashore and got it. When he had stripped off the side shoots, he believed he could use the branch as a pole to guide the raft in case of emergency. They clung to the tree until they found the water flowing the right way, and when they let go and permitted the raft to resume its voyage. In spite of these pauses, they were really making good progress toward the Winkie Country, and having found a way to conquer the adverse current, their spirits rose considerably. They could use little of the country, though, which they were passing because of the high banks. They could see little of the country through which they were passing because of the high banks, and they met with no boats or other craft upon the surface of the river. Once more the Trick River reversed its current, but this time the Scarecrow was on guard and used the pole to push the raft toward a big rock which lay in the water. He believed the rock would prevent their floating backward with the current, and so it did. They clung to this anchorage until the water resumed its proper direction, when they allowed the raft to drift on. Floating around a bend, they saw ahead a high bank of water extending across the river, and toward this they were being irresistibly carried. There being no way to arrest the progress of the raft, they clung fast to the logs and let the river sweep them on. Swiftly the raft climbed the bank of water and slid down the other side, plunging its edge deep into the water and drenching them all with spray. As again the raft righted and drifted on, Dorothy and Ojo laughed at the ducking they had received, but Scraps was much dismayed, and the Scarecrow took out his handkerchief and wiped the water off the Patchwork Girl's patches as well as he was able to. The sun soon dried her, and the colors of her patches proved good, for they did not run together, nor did they fade. After passing the wall of water, the current did not change or flow backward any more, but continued to sweep them steadily forward. The banks of the river grew lower, too, permitting them to see more of the country, and presently they discovered yellow buttercups and dandelions growing amongst the grass, from which evidence they knew they had reached the Winkie Country. "Don't you think we ought to land?" Dorothy asked the Scarecrow. "Pretty soon," he replied. "The Tin Woodman's castle is in the southern part of the Winkie Country, so it can't be a great way from here." Wow. And quite the wall of water. I did not imagine it being that steep and high. Goodness. Well, they survived that. How about it? Fearing they might drift too far, Dorothy and Ojo now stood up and raised the Scarecrow in their arms as high as they could, thus allowing him a good view of the country. For a time he saw nothing he recognized, but finally he cried, "There it is! There it is!" "What?" asked Dorothy. "The Tin Woodman's tin castle. I can see its turrets glittering in the sun. It's quite a way off, but we'd better land as quickly as we can." They let him down and began to urge the raft toward the shore by means of the pole. It obeyed very well, for the current was more sluggish now, and soon they had reached the bank and landed safely. The Winkie Country was really beautiful, and across the fields they could see afar the silvery sheen of the tin castle. With light hearts they hurried toward it, being fully rested by their long ride on the river. By and by they began to cross an immense field of splendid yellow lilies, the delicate fragrance of which was very delightful. "How beautiful they are!" cried Dorothy, stopping to admire the perfection of these exquisite flowers. "Yes," said the Scarecrow reflectively, "but we must be careful not to crush or injure any of these lilies." "Why not?" asked Ojo. "The Tin Woodman is very kind-hearted," was the reply, "and he hates to see any living thing hurt in any way." "Are flowers alive?" asked Scraps. "Yes, of course, and these flowers belong to the Tin Woodman. So, in order not to offend him, we must not tread on a single blossom." "Once," said Dorothy, "the Tin Woodman stepped on a beetle and killed the little creature. That made him very unhappy, and he cried until his tears rusted his joints, so he couldn't move them." "What did he do then?" asked Ojo. "Put oil on them until the joints worked smooth again." "Oh!" exclaimed the boy, as if a great discovery had flashed across his mind. But he did not tell anybody what the discovery was, and kept the idea to himself. It was a long walk, but a pleasant one, and they did not mind it a bit. Late in the afternoon they drew near to the wonderful tin castle of the Emperor of the Winkies, and Ojo and Scraps, who had never seen it before, were filled with amazement. Tin abounded in the Winkie Country, and the Winkies were said to be the most skillful tinsmiths in all the world. So the Tin Woodman had employed them in building his magnificent castle, which was all of tin, from the ground to the tallest turret, and so brightly polished that it glittered in the sun's rays more gorgeously than silver. Around the grounds of the castle ran a tin wall with 10 gates, and the gates stood wide open because the Emperor had no enemies to disturb him. When they entered the spacious grounds, our travelers found more to admire. Tin fountains sent sprays of clear water far into the air, and there were many beds of tin flowers, all as perfectly formed as any natural flowers might be. There were tin trees, too, and here and there shady bowers of tin, with tin benches and chairs to sit upon. Also, on the sides of the pathway leading up to the front door of the castle were rows of tin statuary, very cleverly executed. Among these, Ojo recognized statues of Dorothy, Toto, the Scarecrow, the Wizard, the Shaggy Man, Jack Pumpkinhead, and Ozma, all standing upon neat pedestals of tin. Toto was well acquainted with the residents of the Tin Woodman, and being assured a joyful welcome, he ran ahead and barked so loudly at the front door that the Tin Woodman heard him and came out in person to see if it were really his old friend Toto. Next moment, the Tin Man had clasped the Scarecrow in a warm embrace and then turned to hug Dorothy. But now his eye was arrested by the strange sight of the Patchwork Girl, and he gazed upon her in mingled wonder and admiration. Oh, the Tin Woodman objects to something, but next time we'll find out what he objects to next time, because that's how it's going to be. Oh, well, this is, with all my yabbling at front, this is going to be like a 25-minute video, so that'll work. And then the next one, I won't yabble so much, and we'll just get into it and finish it, and then I'll yabble after, maybe. Yibble, yabble, yakety yak. Don't talk back. Well, this fan seems to be keeping the camera cool, so that's a neat thing. It's not turning off, and I'm too hot. fun with electronics and a grumpy grandpa. Grandpa. It was good to see the granddaughter, the princess, last night. So, anyway, until next time, sweet dreams.